Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks. Brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. And I love joining you guys every Monday to Thursday as we take a look at those top stories making headlines here in sweltering hot Israel. Honestly, guys, when I got into the car earlier on today, it was 45 degrees. I almost burst into flame. Lucky I'm inside, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do your brief for you. Nevertheless, it is a date I look forward to every single day. Now, it is Tuesday, which means we're 2 days away from Thursday, which means we're close to that time of the week where I announce your mensch and your morons. And I've got 1 or 2 recommendations for mensches of the week, so get those nominations through to me ASAP. A reminder, if you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section below or be in touch with us via our website. Today is day 641 since the atrocities of the 7th of October. It is a reminder also that we still have 50 hostages being held captive in the Gaza Strip. Now, talks are still ongoing in Doha, that is in Qatar, and we really hope for some kind of agreement that will see our hostages released. Meanwhile, here in Israel, we will not stop until every single one of them is home, either for a dignified burial or to start that long rehabilitation process. So let's take a look at the top stories, and we begin with Bibi goes to Washington. Yes, Prime Minister Netanyahu is in Washington. Yesterday he met with the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as well as Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff, who is very involved in those ceasefire and hostage negotiations, and President Trump. So here are some of the key takeaways from the meeting with President Trump. The two leaders did not have a formal press conference. Instead, they went out to dinner with their wives. But when the Prime Minister was questioned about a two-state solution, he said, we are working on a voluntary immigration plan. In fact, there are some countries who are willing to take Palestinians. And he said he believes that Palestinians need the ability to govern themselves without harming Israel. Now, before people get their knickers in a knot about immigration, Gazan citizens have lived in intolerable conditions for now 21 months. They have not been allowed to leave the Strip by Egypt or Hamas, putting them in further danger. Now, if we know, if we look at the war in Ukraine, the whole world called on and made allowances for civilians in Ukraine to be able to leave the combat zones. This is what we want for the civilians in Gaza, so that they are not under further harm. One of the other interesting takeaways is that President Trump said that it was Prime Minister Netanyahu who asked him to lift sanctions on Syria. Now, of course, there's all that talk about whether or not Syria will be the next country to join the Abraham Accords. We are watching this space very closely. And with regards to Iran, President Trump said we are trying to arrange talks with Iran, but we hope that we will not have to attack them again. The Prime Minister said that they have cut out some cancerous tumors, which were the nuclear program, but we will have to what's the word I'm looking for? Monitor. I was going to say moderate. You see, in this heat, guys, my brain completely frazzled. We will have to monitor the situation very closely. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian told Tucker Carlson that the Israelis tried to assassinate him during Operation Rising Lion. But a wonderful surprise for President Trump came just shortly before the two leaders departed for dinner, and Prime Minister Netanyahu announced that he had nominated the president for the Nobel Peace Prize, showing him the letter that he sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. And in that letter, the Prime Minister lauds President Trump for his role in pushing for peace in the Middle East through the Abraham Accords. Now, warning, the next story I'm about to tell you does contain graphic content and may upset sensitive viewers. Today, the Dinah Report on the crimes against humanity of sexual violence committed by Hamas and other terror groups on the 7th of October was released. Now, this report is partly funded by the British government with the intention of putting to bed the misinformation and denial of the atrocities of rape, mass rape and gang rape that occurred on the 7th of October and against many of the victims, including young girls, including children, and including some males. Now, I'm going to read to you just a little bit from the introduction of the report. It says the sexual violence was widespread and systematic during the October the 7th attack, occurring across at least 6 different locations. The Nova Music Festival, Route 232, that is the road that connects all the kibbutzim, Sderot, the Nova Festival, Nachal Oz military base, and the kibbutzim Re'im, Nir Oz, and Kfar Aza. Clear patterns emerged in how the sexual violence was perpetrated, including victims found partially or fully naked with their hands tied often to structures like trees or poles, evidence of gang rapes followed by execution, genital mutilation, and public humiliation. Sexual violence continued in captivity, with multiple returnees reporting forced nudity, physical and verbal sexual harassment, sexual assaults, and threats of forced marriage. Most victims were permanently silenced, either murdered during or after the assaults, or remain too traumatized to talk, creating unique evidentiary challenges that require a tailored, context-sensitive evidentiary model adapted to the unique challenges of CRSV. I really encourage everybody, as difficult as it is, to please read this report. It is the Dinah Report, DINAH, on sexual violence committed on the 7th of October. It is titled Massacre. A delegation of European imams is in Israel at the moment, an extraordinary moment. They are here as ambassadors of peace. Yesterday they met with President Herzog, who implored on them to take back messages of peace to their various communities. They also went down to the Kotel, the Wailing Wall, yesterday. Very, very beautiful images of them praying there. And today visited Yad Vashem, Israel's National Holocaust Memorial and Museum. At a time when anti-Semitism is rife around the world, it means the world to us here in Israel to have this council of imams, of Muslim religious leaders in the country, expressing solidarity with us, hearing our side, and sharing incredible empathy and sympathy with the Israeli people and all that we have endured since the 7th of October. Salam and shalom. And finally, Italy and Germany have informed the European Broadcasting Union that if Israel is not in next year's Eurovision Song Competition, they will pull out. Now, this follows bids by Spain, Iceland, and Slovenia to have Israel excluded from the competition or to compete under a neutral flag. You know, I've just spoken to you about the Dinah Report, and it is absolutely unbelievable how many, including Israel's allies, have forgotten how this war started. Meanwhile, Israel has won the popular vote, the vote from viewers around the world who are eligible to vote for 2 years in a row, which tells me that it's the people do not support the ludicrous foreign policies of their governments. So those are our top stories. Let's take a look at today's audience question. It comes from Mandy in Washington, who says, Why doesn't Hamas hand over all the hostages? Well, that is a very important question, Mandy. Thank you for asking. It's their last leverage. It's their last whipping post to torment and hold over the Israeli people and the state of Israel. As I mentioned on yesterday's brief, a Hamas official has said that they've lost control of 80% of the Gaza Strip, and the hostages remain their only leverage to get anything that they are trying to push through this war, and through continuing to hold their civilian population as human shields. You know, this war could be over in an instant if Hamas surrendered and handed over all 50 of our hostages. So guys, that's it from me for today. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottel Site, our YouTube channel right here. If you like our content, please hit that subscribe button. We are on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on X at Lay of the Land 5. It is clear I need to go stick my head in the freezer. So guys, much love to you all. God bless, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.